Hey, what's up, everybody? Sergey here from Ukramedia.com. And before we begin, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear me. And I'm going to warn you, there is a small delay, so be expecting that for sure. But today, I'm going to do what I did yesterday. So if you tuned in yesterday, it will be a bit of a repeat. I'll talk about the modular lower third and all the features that it has. And at the end, we can do any questions or anything you guys might have. So I'm going to wait just a little bit longer and we'll talk about the features. And today is the last day to get this modular lower third kit, flat style, at $9. And after that, it's going to climb, I think, $1 a day. So if you want to get it at the good price, today's the day. I think it's worth it. You'll definitely save money going forward. All right, Alfred, welcome, man. I'm going to wait just a few more minutes to wait for everybody to arrive. And again, we're going to do the repeat of yesterday. We'll talk about the features. And I just wanted to tune in and basically kind of tell you guys that today is the last day for this special sale price. We usually reward loyalty by giving discounts at the beginning. And so this is one of those times. So if you want to get it, it's at $9, and then it's going to climb up $1 a day until it hits, I think, like $29. So I'm going to go ahead and jump in. And by the way, as I'm doing this, feel free to ask questions. I do have my twin brother, Vladimir, kind of monitoring stuff. So definitely ask questions. So modular lower third kit. Those of you that know what it is, you know it's basically a lower third on drugs. I mean, it has so many options, so many things that you can do with it. And if you're familiar with what we do here, you've heard me talk about the modular lower third kits in the past. It's something, we had the first one, which is corporate style. So the corporate style and the flat style, really the difference is in looks and some features. The corporate style was more just me kind of creating a bunch of features and throwing at you to kind of use, right? There was like gradient background, like different pattern backgrounds, and then we had rounded corners options, and then the skew options, the animated stroke and all that stuff. So it's still really good. I use it often as well, but it was a bit limiting on the alternative animation options. So you couldn't have done certain things that you can do in this one, which I'll show here shortly. And really, it's both of them are great. It's just this one is more of a style. So that one I just kind of threw a bunch of stuff at people. But with this one, it's more like, hey, here's the look. I already decided that for you. And I've adjusted all kinds of control in animation and then look in itself to where you can flip logos and stuff like that. So I'll show you that right away here in a minute or so. Yeah, this is a repeat, Alfred, and so let's dive in. I'm just going to show you. So the first thing you do when you open it up, you'll see this, obviously this template. It's a template in After Effects. You can use it in Premiere. All you have to do is just export it as MOGRT file, which is a motion graphic template file or something like that. And I'll show you how to do that at the end. So you'll see two comps. You will not see this logo. I just brought it in to kind of show you as an example. And the main comp is this one, obviously. You'll go in here and you'll see all these layers. You'll see a lot of shape layers and text layers. In fact, I do have some hidden. So only like 3. So these and that one. And again, it's all shape layers and like 2 solids as a null. If you know me, if you followed me, you know that I'm not a fan of solids. I'm so in love with shape layers. I love them so much. That's why I created things like SmartRect, because I enjoy it so much. So again, nothing external. The only thing you'll see here is one pre-comp. And I had to create that one for you guys to place your logo. So it lives right in here, and it's called Place Logo Here. So it's pretty simple. You would click here, and then you drag your logo in here like so, like that. Just drag it in. Make sure you turn off these, and then you can do Control-Alt-Shift-H, and make sure, there you go. So now that you have your logo, you can go back to the main comp, and you'll see it in here. So now you can have this logo if you need it. You can turn it off at any time. I'll show you here shortly. And so the reason, this file is so small because really there's nothing else outside of these 2 comps and like 1 solid. There's nothing else in this project file. So it's so small. In fact, it's 381 kilobytes. So it's not even a meg. Super small, and you don't have to collect. Yeah, I didn't even need to actually collect this project file. I just sent the project file itself. It's that small. All right, so obviously the first thing you'll see is this. However, there is a small lag. As you can see, I'm previewing this. There's a slight lag going on. And as I mentioned yesterday, if you watched me yesterday, it's I'm using a laptop, so it's a medium laptop, so it's not too fast. If you have a faster machine, you might not even notice this. So again, nothing complicated. It's pretty simple, almost real time, but not quite. But the amount of time it saves you, it's something I'm okay with. And really, I wanted to add a lot more options to this template, but you do have to play with, it's kind of like user experience, right? I can throw a lot of options at you. However, it just limits, it lags your system. Expressions are so weird at times. If you have too much expressions going on, then it just slows things down, and it can be annoying. So obviously, we already have a logo in here. I'll show you how to turn it on and off. Then you would do text, right? It's so cool because the text, whatever you type in here, it automatically adjusts everything. So if you type in here, like, let's do this. I'm gonna copy somebody's name here. I can't pronounce it, but we have this one right here. Let me make it Nitish. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing right. So all caps. So here's your name, right? That's cool. And then you would do, let me copy somebody else's. Jeff, my favorite dude. Then you can do title in here, right? You can type something in here. Again, make it all caps. Whoops. By the way, when you're in the type, sometimes to get out of, there's a trick. A lot of times I'm guilty of that. I just want to click here, but if you just hold Control Enter or Enter on a numpad, you can quickly get out of it. I do that a lot, but it's probably not the right way of doing it. Let's do Alfred here. I'm going to copy. Obviously, you would have descriptions, but I'm just going to use you guys' name. And the same thing, Control Enter to get out of it, and then you can make it all caps. So you can quickly change that. And the cool thing about this, you can select the name, and you can still play with it. You can scale the size of it, make it really big, or you can, go back and whatever, if you select this title 1, or you can scale it, and the edge is smart enough to where it'll go with the shape, with the edge. So that's cool. The same thing applies for that one. It's very similar to the first modular lower third. So it's really cool. Okay, so again, we kind of went over the sizing. So it's auto size. You can customize whatever. Basically, the size of the lower third depends on your content. So if you want to make this big, then that's how big the lower third will be. So it kind of, this content is driven, it's kind of like drives the size of your lower third. All right, so let's go over some of the controls. So if you want to control more options, you would have to go into this control null, and then you would go to Effect Controls, Control here. And in here, we have the first one's position, so you can easily position things like that. You can move it around. As you notice, there is a little lag, but as I said before, it's because of the features. So I did get rid of a lot of features just to get that comfortable user experience. So yeah, I hate the fact that I had to get rid of some features, but you don't want it to be too slow. All right, so let's go over these flip options. So the flip options are super cool because sometimes, when you have a lower third, a client would come in, and that happened to me so many times. If you keyframe stuff and then a client comes in and says, hey, I love your lower third, but we made a decision and we don't like the logo. Can you get rid of it? And if you have things keyframed, that small, change that they're asking in their eyes seems very small, but in your world, that's a lot of keyframes moving around and all that stuff. So with this one, it's super cool. You can actually get rid of the logo, or let's say they want to put it on the other side, right? So you would do flip logo and text. Boom, it goes on the other side. And then the same thing, if if they change their mind, you go here. And I'll show you how to turn it off here in a second. And then we also have this flip option for this shape right here. And by the way, everything you see in here, the way it's laid out in the timeline, it's laid out exactly same everywhere else. For example, like, let's do layer visibility. You can see that logo, name, title 1, title 2. It'd be logo, name, title 1, title 2, and so on. So you kind of relate to what's in here to here. So it kind of makes sense. It's pretty simple, really. So I hope you guys are following me. Okay, so this flip shape A and C, so those are these shapes in here. So it's the bottom, like a bar, I guess. So that thing, those animating elements, if you want to flip them, right now they're on top, but what if you want to put them on the bottom? You can just, click on this, and then it puts it on the bottom in no time. So that's cool. So essentially, you can kind of create your own lower third with just these two. So let's talk about layer visibility. Now, this one is my favorite one. Not only can you turn off all these things, obviously we can do it here, but the cool thing about it, when you turn things off, it automatically adjusts the lower third, and then it keeps the same timing, the same animation. So for example, if I wanted to turn off this title 2, right, this one right here, Alfred, sorry, you're gonna have to go right now. So if you wanted to turn that off, you would just select this, and then it would go away, and everything else would adjust, and animation would stay the same, which is awesome. The same thing goes for Jeff here. If you wanted to turn that off, you can just click it, and then it goes away. And for example, it's almost like you're creating your own graphics package. You know, what if you wanted to get rid of this logo? Then you would just click here, and it's just a name. Pretty simple, adjust quickly, on the fly, super cool. And then, all right, so then you would do the same thing. Let's say, what if I wanted to be just the logo? So you turn off the name, and then you would go to, let's do logo. Yeah, logo options. And under here, you can scale the logo. So when you have just the logo, you have to manually tell the size of the logo, because before then, the content, like the text, was driving the size of the logo. But now, since you turn all the text off, the default size of the logo is 0. So you have to kind of scale it. Let's do 140. So now you have just the logo by itself. So that can be like a logo bug in the corner. So essentially, it's a lot of control, a lot of options. So again, you can see that these changes take no time. And I don't know about you, time is money for me. You can quickly turn things on and off and get it done. So I'm going to turn everything back on. When you turn everything back on, make sure that the logo is back at 0, back at default. So like that. So obviously that means that if you have just a logo and you want to adjust the size of the logo, you can go in here and adjust it in here, and then you can move it up and down, right? If you want it to be something stylistic like that, then you would play it in here. Let me undo all of this. All right, so I hope you guys are following. You can see how powerful these features are. And again, the same thing, you can turn off shape 3 here, and all these, for example, all these other shapes, you can turn that off. But I don't know why you would, but maybe if you just want one shape. I would always have shape 3 on, because shape 3 is like the mask for all these text layers. So you definitely want to hold on to that. You can turn off the other ones and make sure you hold on to shape 3. All right, so we talked about layer visibility. Now let's talk about layer opacity. So obviously it's pretty simple. Layer opacity, we know what that means. And the cool thing about that, you can actually control that. For example, this white shape, right? It's this one right here, shape 3. That's the last shape that we see. And this shape has opacity option right here, right? You can actually go here and turn it off to 0, so to where it's transparent, as you can see like this. And the cool thing about it, it gives you an interesting effect here. So when you preview this, you can see that it kind of goes through that stuff, and it gives you like an interesting look, which could be interesting. So that would do that, and you can go and turn it back on or make it full 100%. So really a layer opacity, that's pretty simple. You guys get the point there. So let's talk about spacing. Now that is pretty cool feature of this modular lower third. And obviously it's the same feature that you would see in the previous one. I think I called it gap in that one. So I got better with naming. So now spacing, here is pretty simple. With these, you can actually create a whole different lower third. For example, it's pretty simple. You have top, that would be the top, right? Bottom, that would be the bottom spacing. Left, it would be this left. Right would be this right, and so on. So you get the idea. For example, logo would be the distance between. So when you pull on these, right, you get creating space right here, then space at the bottom, space on the left, right. Then you have this logo, so this space right here. Whoops, like that. Then you have this title 1, title 2, which is between those two, and you would do the same thing. So you can see how you can easily create something different or something interesting. You can even offset, let me undo all of this. I think something like, let's go back to basic. Okay, not that far. All right, so you can even offset the distance of these titles. So you have title 1 and title 2. You can go over here and just kind of offset it however you want to, like that or something like that. So that can be interesting. And then let's see, you have shape. So, well, this shape gap is basically the gap between this first shape and this bar. So you can actually select a pull on this and kind of separate it. So that can be an interesting look. You know, maybe that's a style that you're going for. And last one is basically the size of those shapes. So you can set all of them to maybe like 30 pixels. And maybe that's what you're going for. So again, the sky is the limit. And the cool thing about this lower third that I like, you know, sometimes when you get like a template, you always have a question like, what dimension is it? Does it work with HD, or, you know, like what can you use it with? Well, this thing really it doesn't really matter where you're using it, because the size of the lower third grows based on what, the size of your text and stuff. So if you increase the size of your composition, you just need to increase everything else here, right? And then it automatically adjusts. So it doesn't matter what you bring it in, as long as you control the size of the text and everything else, you'll be just fine. So anyway, I think I'm covering here. Let me see what you guys are saying. I'll just come back to it. All right. So that's spacing. You get the idea for spacing, pretty simple. So essentially you can create a whole different lower third. You can adjust more space here. And a lot of times, for example, let me show you something cool. So maybe you can do this. You can go to bottom here and kind of, maybe not that much, go like this and then select and put it like right at the bottom here. So that can be a whole different lower third now, right? And it kind of animates right here. Yeah, so it can give you a little different style. Anyway, I do have some presets which I'll go over here shortly. So we have spacing. Let's talk about logo options. Well, I think I'll skip that one because we already talked about this one. So basically you can adjust the size, the offset, and let's talk about colors. It's pretty simple. Colors, again, the same layout you see here is the same here. So nothing crazy. If you want to adjust the size of the text, you just go here, make the color. So it's pretty simple. All right, let's talk about animation. So the animation is actually in frames. And if you don't know what that means, basically we have we have time in here and it's in actual minutes, seconds, and all that stuff. But if you want to go to frames, you just hold down Control on your keyboard and then click on it, and then it goes to frames. So then now everything's in frames. I like that better, especially coming in from 3D. Like I do a lot of 3D actually, and we work in frames because you render things in frames, and it just makes sense to just get used to frames instead of seconds. And I set everything up to be in frames. For example, we have this timing, and these timing properties basically work in frames. So you can either use marker triggered animation, which we'll go over that in a second, or you can just adjust the timing here. Now, if you like to just crunch in the numbers, you can do it here. So the first shape, which is A right here, right? You can see that one starts at, where is it? Right here is 0. And then the second one starts at 3, the blue one, right? And then the shape C starts at 6 and so on. So that's how you essentially create the animation that you like. And for example, if I wanted to offset this logo to be the last thing to come in, for example, the last movement here is at frame 31. I can go over here to logo and say, do 32. So then maybe like something more extreme so you can see it, like 40, right? Everything comes in, and then the logo is the last one to come in. So it's pretty simple. You can just do numbers, especially if you're going to export this into Premiere. I would stick to this. However, if you're going to stay in After Effects, I would recommend you use markers. These markers right here to adjust the timing of things. And it's pretty simple. It's visual. I'm a visual guy, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. And the way it works, I don't know if you can see this. Yeah, I will make sure this screen is not covering it. Okay, well, pretty easy. Make sure you have it checked if you're gonna do markers. So whatever you set in here, once you check this, it's not gonna be working anymore. It's gonna switch to markers only. So, for example, right now, shape A, B, and C, right? They start based on these layer markers, and then as you can see, when I approach here, these other 3 shape layers, like these right here going down, right? That triggers based on those markers. And then these last 4, which is the content here, you can see it starts based on these markers. And right away, you can see that we have a problem, right? So you can fix your animation. I don't want the name to be first. In this case, title 2 is gonna come down, then title 1, and then the name. So I don't want this title 2 to be first. So I'm gonna put it right over here where the logo starts. And then I'm gonna go down 2 frames, and I want title 1 to be first, or second, and then name to be third, and then logo to be last. So instantly you can see how quickly I adjusted that. It now looks pretty simple to me. Looks like it's working. So again, visually it's so much easier to just adjust it in here instead of going in here. However, sometimes I like it better working here because you can just adjust it based on just frames, right? You could do the math here quicker. And if you want to do that, let's say you already created it in here, you can just, you can see, kind of snap to each marker and say, all right, this one starts at 23. So that's shape 1. I want shape 1 to be 23, so it's already there. And you can kind of match it like that. So it does take some time, but not too much. So that is timing. Let's see. Oh yeah, and this next feature is my favorite, and it's animation direction. And basically, this is where you get most of your control, and it's really, really awesome. So for example, we have this logo, right? The way logo animates in. In fact, let's start at the very bottom. So we have these shapes, right? This 1, 2, and 3. So these bottom ones, they basically animate from the center and they extrude out. And so right here, as you can see, it's set to center horizontal. So that's exactly what's going on here. But if I set these to, let's do left to right, like this. Now it's going to come in from the left side of the screen to the right side. So that's pretty cool. I mean, instantly you've changed directions, and it's still modular, still adjusts to everything, which is awesome. I mean, that took me no time to do. And then, for example, next shapes, I want them to be like these bottom 3, right? These 3 right here. Right now, they're set, this 3, 2, and 1. They're set to top to bottom. So they're starting at the top, and they're going to the bottom. However, I want them to, let's say, go from the right side to the left. And I can do that quickly. Just go over here, shape 1, and go right to left, right to left, right to left. And so now we have an interesting thing happen here. Boom, that's cool. Now you don't have to stick to this timing. You can adjust the timing. I'm gonna actually, I want them to start at the same time. So I'm gonna snap them, shift snap them here. Okay, like that. So now if I preview this, you can see they start at the same time. So it gives me, again, an interesting look here. And again, I don't have to hold on to all 3 of these shapes. I can go to visibility here and turn off shape A and B. So now it's just one shape. You can see it right there. In fact, I can tell that shape to start right here, shape C. So it starts at the same time. It gives you an interesting look. You can create your own lower third. So I'm going to undo everything. So everything starts like that. Great. Now I'm going to go to text here. And by the way, you don't have to move the markers. You can select everything, right? And then 1, 2, you can kind of shift snap everything like that. Okay, that's cool. So that works, and then the text comes in. Now the text, I will, obviously it's starting at the top and then it moves downwards. Now I can go to this control here, and where it says these options, these properties, or actually that's layer, sorry. These right here, you can see it starts at the top and it moves downwards. So bottom, I can just tell it to do the same thing, right to left, right to left, right to left, right to left. And so now when I preview this, you can see it works the same way, but again, here's where you're gonna play around with timing. In fact, I'm gonna do this. I don't like shifting things around. I don't recommend shifting layers. It just maybe mess things up for you. But what I'm gonna do is just adjust. So I want the logo to be first, right? So I'm gonna go over here and I'll say 1, 2, page down twice. I want the logo first. Let's do name second. And we'll do title 1 third, and then title 2. Anyway, you can see how quickly you can adjust this. Pretty simple. And in no time, you can create a whole different lower third with just playing around with these timing and also directions, visibility. You know, a client comes in and says, hey, we just want one title. We don't want 2 of them. Can you turn it off? And you can just say, yeah, I can do that. Boom. And you're done. So I pretty much went over almost everything. I kind of want to touch on the presets before I talk about this animation in and out. So this one right here. So what I'm going to do, so if you want to use the presets, it does come in with the templates, or the template. Just download it, unzip it, and then install them in the template folder of your After Effects directory, wherever that is on your system. Then go to Effects and Presets and go to Animation. Let me do this. Animation, then Modular Lower Third, Flat Style Presets, and then in here you'll see Animation Presets and then Color Themes. And so the way it works is pretty simple. I kind of created a bunch of them, kind of just a starting point. And an important point here is that the timing of things in this one is not dependent on markers. So it's driven by, we're in animation, by these values. So for example, the first thing you need to do is select the layer, the control layer, and then make sure you select the preset here before you use any presets. Make sure you select the control, and then you pick one of these. So I can say that one, and it'll give you an interesting look. And if you don't like something, you're like, I gotta flip this, you can just flip things. You know, the bar is on that side now. You can flip the logos, right? So you still have control. You can adjust the timing. You can click on that one and it'll give you something different. Extrudes from the center. You can click on that one. It kind of doesn't have the bar, right? Just the shapes here. And you can do just a logo. Well, let's see this one. You can do logo only. Where's that? No logo, or logo only. And then it'll just do it for the logo, or no logo at all. So again, you can explore, play around with these different lower thirds. It'll definitely give you, if you're in a hurry, it'll give you something to work with. And then we also have these color themes. You can click on any of them. For example, this one gives you, let me select a different one. Let's do this one. Okay, so we have different colors for this one. You can go back and select that one. So that's more of a bluish. You can select this one. What else? That B one. Anyway, so you can play with some stuff. You can get interesting results. And obviously, if you're working on the lower third, chances are you're working for some client that already has color schemes and all that stuff figured out for you. But if you don't, these are good inspirations. We'll give you something interesting. All right, and let's do, before we wrap this up, one more thing I want to mention, and it is in here. Hold on. Animation in, yeah, in and out. And basically, this is the portion a lot of people ask me about. It's just the keyframes that drive the whole thing. You can think of it as like the engine. You know, I had this tendency to, when I was designing this, to kind of make everything to be driven by just expression, no keyframes. However, as an animator or motion designer, I don't like that. I like having more control with my keyframes, and you can control velocity and just distance between keyframes. It's much quicker doing it with keyframes rather than in the expression. So for example, I'm going to select this control null and then press U on your keyboard to see the keyframes. So these 4 keyframes drive the whole thing. And in keyframe, obviously, it are the keyframe, you know, those 2 keyframes animate everything in. So everything is driven, right? This animation in for each shape is driven, let me see if, is driven strictly by these 2 keyframes. So if you want things to be slower, you can extend it, and then it'll be slower. Okay, and then you can also go into graph editor, right? Adjust, you know, the curve and all that stuff, which I'm not gonna go over. And then when things animate out, that's driven by these 2 keyframes. So that's pretty neat. So then again, you can control, you can play around with the velocity and all that stuff. And you can just leave it as is if you like the way things are. And that's basically it. But one thing I forgot to mention that I do want to touch on, we were talking about marker triggered animation. The cool thing about this, the end animation, you know, whatever you said here, it's going to animate out the exact same way it animated in. Now, obviously, the speed will be different because the other set of keyframes driving it. However, it's going to animate out based on the end of this marker. So wherever you put this, that's where it's going to animate out. And that is super cool because sometimes clients say, hey, it's too slow or too fast, or it stays on too long. Can you end it sooner? And then you have to move all the keyframes. Well, with this one, you don't have to. You can just drag it where you want it, and it'll do it for you. And if you want to do it without the marker, you would just uncheck that. And this same thing in this value right here, in this timing thing, is end time. So it's the same thing you do here with a marker. You can do with this end time. You just set the keyframe. For example, I can say animate out at frame 100. And then I can go to frame 100. Pay attention right here. So frame, like right here, 100. You can see it's exactly on the dot out. At 100, it's gone. So that is super useful. Okay, let me do that. All right, well, I think I've covered all my bases here. If you have any questions, this would be a good time to ask. So if you're just tuning in, I want to let you know that the presentation is over. And actually, one more thing I want to, I know I keep saying one more. If you want to, I know yesterday someone asked me about, like, am I going to include the MOGRT file for this? And the reason why I didn't, because in MOGRT file, you can't really, like, you can't and by the way, if you don't know what MOGRT file is, it's basically a file that you would use in Premiere, but you can't really like set fonts yet. I mean, there, people have some ways around it, but it's not official. So you still have to kind of go through After Effects to set it up. And in here, I would recommend just set everything up. And when you're ready to go, you would just go to Essential Graphics. And in here, you have all the controls already imported here for Premiere. And you just literally just export it where you want it to export, and then just bring it in Premiere. And the only options or properties that are not in here are these animation direction options. And really, the reason why I didn't include those, because, well, one thing, this Essential Graphics doesn't really support the drop-down menu. So you can't really import that in. Trust me, I've tried, you can't do it. However, maybe later Adobe will create something for that. I have thought about in fact, I have created it for each logo. I thought about creating a checkbox for each one of them. And it just ended up being a bunch of checkboxes. And it just looked so cluttered. And even then, you have to use expression for those checkboxes. And it just slowed down the system more. And I just made an executive decision to just cut it out. However, if you do want that feature in, I mean, I can put it back in. I just think it's too cluttered. It's much easier to just come into After Effects and quickly make the changes there and then export it. So I recommend doing it that way. But if you want that, you let me know, and we'll go forward with that. All right, well, I'm done. Let's see what you guys are talking about. Textures, Film Pro. What about textures? Let's see. So this one doesn't have textures. If you're used to like the first one, there were some textures. I wouldn't say a lot. However, I cut it out from this one because of the the amount of lag it created, and it was just kind of annoying. It was too slow. It wasn't worth it. However, you can do it. It's not worth it like adding controls in the controls here, because you have to use expressions. But you can still bring in textures and just mask it out in here and do it yourself. You can still do it. It just wasn't worth it building it in. Yeah, you can. Where can you add? You can just bring it in, like in here, and just use a set mat or something like that, right? And I mean, you can also use gradient. You can right-click in here and go to Layer Styles and Gradient, right? And then you can have a gradient in here. You can go to where's the gradient overlay and control these options, and you can set whatever gradient you want. You can do it manually, right? It still works. It's just I don't have that option, all those controls in the control. And because it just lagged, it just made everything slower. But you can do it yourself. You can bring the texture the same way. You can just use it as a mask. John, welcome. I saw your comment on YouTube, man. Such positive and encouraging comment. I really appreciate it, man. You are an awesome human being. Appreciate it, John. Something we can Yeah, you can, John. You can customize it like I showed you before. I mean, you can still do a lot of things. Even like I know some people might complain about rounded edges. You can still have options like these shapes. For example, shape 3. You can go in here and you still have rounded edges. Let's say I'm going to do to like 100, something extreme. Where this one like 100. It's still there, right? You can still do it. It just looked weird including it there, right? You can turn these off, for example. You can go to controls and layer visibility. You can turn them off, and you still have rounded edges. It still works, right? It's just I didn't include it there because of options. So you do have control of all of this. And the same thing goes for skew, right? You can select this one and there's skew. You can adjust it. Yeah, you have options. It's just, again, I didn't build it in. I mean, you can set this one like that, and maybe this one the opposite way. You can come up with something. Actually, wait a minute, skew this way. You can do something like this, and maybe that one can be even more extreme, or maybe the opposite way. I don't know why you would do this, but maybe you're just looking for something interesting. And again, you can do anything you want with this. And I've also heard someone use this. In fact, I almost used it for the promo video, using this as a title. Like you can go to this control and you can turn off some things. For example, let's do title 2, title 1, logo. And for example, what if Nitish Kumar, Sorry if I'm butchering your name. I'm terrible at pronouncing. I'm lucky if I can pronounce my own name. So you can use this as like a title, movie title, and put it in here, right? And then it can be a movie title or something. I don't know. And you can also, in fact, you can get interesting. You can go here and turn off all these shapes, like the bottom ones, and then go to opacity and turn off, let's do shape 1. Let's do like 0 for that, 0 for this. So right now it's just, wait a minute. And maybe, yeah, let's do, well, actually keep that at 100. So this is raw, this is live, guys. All right, and the name, you probably want to adjust the color to, well, I'm going to go and, I think this is good. So this could be like a movie name, right? Like a title name. So watch this. This could be like an interesting, and that could be a title name. And it could be an interesting, simple lower third. So you can also make it big and put it up here, right? This could be a title to your, like a bumper or something like that. Select this name. You can select this, go to title or character and scale it up. And then, so watch this, put this in the center. Make sure you use it right here. So you can place it in the center, and that can, you know, it can be an interesting introduction to some kind of chapter or segment. Again, sky is the limit what you can do with this. Don't forget about presets. You can use presets pretty quickly, like I just did. So yeah, I think, yeah, this is cool. I'm definitely buying it today. Awesome, Film Pro. Hey, I hope I sold it. And I mean, again, the reason why I created this, because I was preparing for the modular lower third course that we're going to create that's going to be included in the expressions course. So if you purchase expression course, you'll be getting that, but I'm going to get to it eventually. And really, I just kind of decided, hey, why don't we just create this template again? And really, I see the use for this. I've done a lot of corporate stuff, like many of you. I guarantee if you've done any kind of motion graphic work, you know that everyone asks for some kind of lower third. I mean, you just can't avoid that. And I hate spending the time doing it. I don't necessarily enjoy it. And with this one, you can create different looks, different options, and it's still somewhat relevant and clean and corporate. Yeah, flat style is very trendy these days. Show it in Premiere Pro. I don't have it up, but let me see if I can fire it up. Premiere Pro. Hold on, while I do that, so I have this cool slide. Watch this. Watch this in 3, 2, 1. Boom! Was that cool or what? Well, it's loading, so you can't see what I'm doing here. Smart. Yeah, I can show it to you, but let me load it up. I wasn't ready for it. It kind of caught me off guard. Let me see. All right. Almost there. Hang on there. Come on. Again, I'm using a pretty like a decent laptop. I mean, laptop. So I mean, you saw the lag. It's not bad for a laptop, right? Okay. So let me create a new. I'm gonna show it to you here in a second. Make sure I can pull it up here first. All right, I think that's the one. Hold on, modular lower third. I have so many of them in here. All right, let me go live so you can see what I'm doing. So here's my screen. I'm sharing it with you in 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right, so here's my just a Premiere Pro. Nothing crazy. You can see I have a bunch of them. I guess I was testing it. So if I just move it in here, bring it in, and you want to keep the existing, no, change it. So I'm going to change it. It does take just a little time. Again, I'm using a laptop, so it's going to be much faster on a bigger system. So I do have it. Hold on, it's still loading. Okay, let me extend this. Whoops. All right, let me extend this. So we have lower third. There it is. You can see it animating. Let me see if I can zoom in here. Let's do 50. There you go. So we have the same lower third. You can see it's actually pretty fast. I mean, it's pretty fast. And so again, the controls will be in here. You have to go to Essential Graphics. If you don't see it, it's probably, yeah, Essential Graphics. So you have all these edit options. You can adjust anything in here. Hold on, let me borrow some of the names here. So we have Luke. Since you asked the questions, or the question here, let me paste you in there. And so you have your name in here. So you can, again, everything adjusts perfectly. You can see it's the same size. You can adjust the Title 1, Title 2. You can flip things. You can flip the shape. You can adjust the colors. So it's pretty simple. We can make you something like more bluish, like that. As you can see, it works. So you can adjust all these options. You can turn things off like Title 2. Okay. You can do just your name. And what else? Again, you can adjust the spacing. Again, it's pretty real time, pretty awesome. I haven't really used it that much. So this is one of my first times doing this. So yeah, again, the same thing here. You have all these options. The only thing, like I said before, you can't really do drop-down menu because of it's just different. You can't bring in drop-down menus in Essential Graphics. It's not something that I can't do. It just doesn't. Essential Graphics, they don't have that option yet available. So. Again, we can adjust the logo size. Let me bring everything up here. So if you have logo selected, Title 1, Title 2, so probably it will help. You can adjust the logo size, and you can adjust the offset, end time. So right now it ends. If you, by the way, the same thing, Control click. Is it Control? Yeah, Control click again for frames. There you go. So frames. Right now it ends at frame number 150. So if you go 150, it ends, but you can tell it to end at frame, let's do 200. And then it's going to stay on at 200. You can see it's gone. So pretty cool. So yeah, that's really simple. And you can adjust, so let's see, you can adjust shape, gap, you can move that down if you want. Offset these things. As you can see, the shape is smart enough to where it'll go. The only thing you can't do, you can't adjust the size of the text, because again, that option doesn't exist. But other than that, that's still a lot of control. So I hope that answered your question. You definitely let me know. All right, let me transition out. So any more questions before we wrap this up? I know I've probably been for way too long. Look, I hope that answered your question. All right, so we have John, awesome. Thank you, Original Design, B Original Design. I don't know your name. Okay. All right, any more questions? You guys are good? Again, thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it. Again, it's just me and my twin brother running this thing. We both jumped, and it's been an awesome, awesome journey. And you guys have been so awesome. The reason why we're on the map, the reason why we're known is because of awesome people like you guys. So we thank you. We definitely appreciate you a lot. And again, I'll be doing more tutorials soon just to get this out of the way. And I definitely want to get back to tutorials and modular lower third kits, show you how to do that in a product kind of based. And then Adobe Max is coming up, which I'm excited about that. If you didn't know, I do have, well, I guess you know the news, but I'll be presenting 6 sessions at Adobe Max in October, which I'm super excited about. And if you're going to be in October in I think LA, if you're going to be in LA, definitely give us a shout. We'd love to meet you, shake your hand, and just snap a picture or so. So Adobe Max, 6 sessions, check it out. We do have a community that a lot of you guys are on. So yeah, Matthew, thank you so much for your purchase, man. I appreciate it. Again, I hope this product or this lower third is going to help you guys. I hope it's going to speed up the workflow so that you can focus on what really matters, and that's creating creative stuff. All this corporate jazz that I'm not too crazy about myself, it takes away from focusing on what we love, and that's creating. And I mean, sometimes it's fun creating lower thirds, but when you have to do it many times a day, it's not very creative. At that point, it's just surviving. And this tool will definitely help you. And again, today is the last day to take advantage of this $9.99 deal. So definitely take advantage of that. And then after today, it's going to go up $1 each time. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. Alfred, man, you're a trooper. This second day I see you, man. That's awesome. You guys are awesome. All right. Any more questions before I wrap this up? Again, don't forget to like the video. Well, it's a live stream, but don't forget to subscribe to YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, follow us on social media and stuff like that. And more importantly, join our online community. It's a super, super awesome community at Ukramedia.com/community. We have a lot of very talented people from the industry, and we have people who are just starting out, and the two work well together. They help each other out. And if you want people to help you, you should definitely join the community. What is it they say? You're the average of 5 people you hang out with. And it's true. I remember when I played soccer, when I played with people that were better than me, I went up to their level almost instantly. But if you play with people that are not as good as you, you kind of go down. So you want to be around the best, people that are better than you. And if you do that, I promise you, you'll grow quickly. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it, Alfred. Peter, hey, man. Thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry, Peter. I think you're a little late. But love you guys. And definitely tune in. I'll try to do more of these, try to do more tutorials. But until next time, my name is Sergey Prokhnevsky, and this is Ukramedia.com. And by the way, one more thing. We do have a podcast coming out today. My twin brother interviewed Martinez. Can't remember the first name. But check it out. It's going to come out soon. I think like right after this podcast, after this live stream. Definitely check it out. It's a great interview. All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one.